Welcome to Hutchinson Economic Developments. My name is Miles Seppold. I'm the Economic Development Director for the city. This week I'm going to have some updates for you on current projects, and then in our second segment we're going to launch into a look at the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority, and I'm going to give you an idea of what they do and how they earn their money, so forth. Okay, project updates. Probably the biggest project on the radar right now is the Jorgensen Hotel redevelopment. This one has been a long time forming and quite a complex project, but it is moving forward, and we should see a lot of activity in this area here in the very near future. On December 9th, the City Council looked at this project again. We had to go back and revisit how much public assistance we were putting into this project. Originally, we had set up a redevelopment TIF district for this thing on October 28th. And at that meeting, that's where the City Council authorized a certain level of public assistance to help make the project work financially. And after that, we were able to get actually some additional information from the developer and a better picture of what the costs were going to be to really do this project. And then from that, the decision was taken that we had to revisit the amount of public assistance provided for the project. So we increased it from $792,000 up to about $1.17 million to help make the project work financially. So here I guess I just want to really point out that when it comes to these TIF districts, it's very important to remember that there's not really public dollars, there's no public tax dollars involved in these things. It's the developer of the project that is going to be paying property taxes on their new building or whatever it is. So that tax money kind of goes into a bucket, and then from that bucket the tax increment comes back out again, and usually it's about 90% will come back out, and then that can go back to the developer to help offset certain costs related to the project. So whenever you hear about a TIF district, just remember that it's not public tax dollars, it's really developer tax dollars that are being used. And in this case, the cost just went up. People wonder, well, why is the public involved in this? Why is the city involved in this project? Why do we need to do a TIF district? And the bottom line here is that when it comes to redevelopment projects, those are hard. They just have a lot of steps, and they're very expensive and very difficult to pull off. In this case, the developer is looking at doing a new 40-room hotel on the corner of Main Street in Washington. And in reality, I mean, the developer could very easily find a bare lot on the edge of town and build a new hotel there. And that would be very easy to do. But he was interested in doing a redevelopment of the Jorgensen, and from the city's perspective, we're very interested. We want to get new development to happen in the downtown. And in order to make it happen in the downtown versus at the edge of town, we need to put some public assistance in there to help make the thing work financially. The developer for this project, you know, he's easily going to have $1 million into this thing before he starts construction on the new building, because you have to purchase the Jorgensen Hotel. That has a certain price tag. Purchase of the Cook building, there's another bunch of dollars to be spent. You have to demolish all of that. You got to clean up the site, and then you got to do your site prep. So very easily the developer is going to have $1 million into this site before he lays the first brick on the new building. So that's why public assistance is needed. It just costs a lot more to redevelop old buildings versus just build on the edge of town or whatever. So, and naturally we want this to happen in downtown Hutchinson, so that's why we're involved. So where is it at right now? We have an agreement all set up with the developer, between the city and the developer, so that's all signed and sealed. The developer has purchased the Cook Jewelry building, so that's done. The Cooks are in the midst of doing their going out of business sale, so if you have an appetite for jewelry, now's the opportunity, because they have to sell everything, and the Cook Jewelry will close by December 31st. and that will be the end of that. So if you're in the market for jewelry, I guess you're able to get some good bargains at Cook Jewelry. So once the Cooks are done, demolition is actually going to get underway here very shortly. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen inside the building, and then coordination that needs to happen with the city and with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and there's a lot of steps that get involved. So a lot of the prep work for demolition is going to start right away, and then it'll gain momentum here in January and February. And I would say early next year, the wrecking ball is going to come down, and both of these buildings are going to be removed altogether. So downtown Hutchinson is going to change pretty dramatically here in the next couple months. Update on the landing. This project is moving ahead full speed. They took a few days off for the cold weather, but they're out there working again today. And I saw the steel arrived, so it's going to start looking more and more like a building. It'll start going up. And this is scheduled to open in December of 2026. So I was able to get some pictures from the developer about what it's going to look like on the inside. So you're the first to see these. Here's a picture of the kitchen at the landing. And then here's a picture of the fitness room that people will be able to use. The community room will be available for residents to reserve for events. Here's a picture of the parking garage underneath, because it'll have indoor parking underneath the building, or on the first level of the building. And then finally, there's going to be a rooftop patio. And again, this is something that residents are going to be able to reserve and have events at and so forth. So that's kind of what's going on at the landing. The Guiding Light Early Learning Center, the new child care center that the EDA has been working on, this is now open. And so they have 42 slots available for preschool and school-aged children. So you can call the number on your screen and I'll read that off. So 320-405-2090. You can call Guiding Light to arrange a tour, meet the teachers, or bring the kids over and get them enrolled. So open for business. Another news item is that we have a new company out at the Hutchinson Enterprise Center. So this is a group of PhDs from the University of Minnesota, and they are setting up a brand new company that's going to be manufacturing the resins that other companies will use to make things out of plastic. And the real innovation here is that these guys have developed plastics that are totally biodegradable. So they'll degrade in the environment and disappear. And as you know, this is kind of a big problem in our society, is that plastics linger around so much. And so these guys could potentially have the answer to that challenge. So we're very excited, and they're busy setting up right now over at the Enterprise Center, and we'll see what happens here going forward. So that's the update so far. And in the next segment here, we're going to take a look at the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority. Welcome back to Hutchinson Economic Developments. In this segment, we're going to take a look at the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority, or the EDA, and kind of give you an idea of what types of things that we actually work on. So the mission of the EDA is to facilitate redevelopment, job creation, and the success of manufacturing in our community. That's the mission statement. So mostly that's, two areas of focus are mostly just the downtown and the industrial park. Those are kind of the twin pillars. So I'm going to kind of give you an overview of some of the downtown projects that we've worked on over the years, and then we'll transition to some of the industrial park projects. So one of the more notable ones that we did years ago was the redevelopment of the State Theater. Back in 2002 or 2003, there was serious discussion about demolishing this building and just turning it into a parking lot. Or the other thought, I guess, at the time was to have the city purchase it and maybe make it the municipal liquor store or something like that. The theater had closed, I believe, in 1999, and it had gone into some pretty bad disrepair. And so by 2003, the roof was in terrible condition. The whole building was quite run down. I remember there was, whenever it rained, there would be water that would be coming in. And the screen in the main theater would have water running down the screen from the rain. So pretty bad shape. But luckily we had an opportunity. We met a husband and wife team, Red and Linda McMonigal. They owned a pet supply store in the Twin Cities. And they always had the dream to own and operate a movie theater. And so we said, we can help with that. So we did a redevelopment TIF district, so it was the same type of thing that we're currently doing for the Jorgensen Hotel. And then we did a downtown loan, I think it was $130,000. And then Red and Linda worked for a couple years to renovate this and bring it all back to life. And today we have the State Theater. And now more recently in 2024, Red and Linda retired. And then we were fortunate enough to come up with another young couple, Jenna and Jason Wall, who wanted to run a movie theater. And they're from Hollywood, actually. They worked in the movie industry, and now they wanted to be on the other side of it where they're showing the movies. So the EDA played a role in helping them purchase the building at the end of 2024, and now they're running it. And the State Theater, it's running better than ever, and a lot of exciting things coming up. Another project that the EDA worked on, this would have been 2005, was Cornerstone Commons. And as you recall, at that time on this particular corner, there was an old gas station that was no longer being used. There was a rundown building that was a pawn shop, and then there was a vacant lot. And we met a local developer that had an idea for a project. And again, the EDA came in and we provided a redevelopment TIF district. Again, another loan, $130,000 loan. And then we were involved on the technical side of this pretty deeply, because we had to help with the business plan. We had to help with finding equity to make the project work. We had to find help with the bank, help with the gap financing, help negotiate the purchase of the properties. So we were in on every aspect of this project. But this one was a big win because we took a corner of downtown that was one of the least attractive and made it into one of the most attractive. So a big win for downtown. Another project we worked on at about that same time was the downtown streetscape. The lighting in the downtown was very old and run down, and the wiring was bad and was in constant need of repair. And then the sidewalks were all cracked and uneven. So we helped with a project to implement the downtown streetscape. So all new street lights, pedestrian level street lights, new sidewalks, colored concrete, all of that to help make it more pedestrian friendly. So the EDA contributed a lot of funding to help plan this out. And then I remember I walked up one side of Main Street and down the other to meet all the property owners, all the business managers, to talk about the project and get their feedback so that I could relay that to the city council. But then in the end, the city council approved it and we did it. And now we have, I believe, one of the best looking downtowns anywhere. Another project we worked on, this was 2008, was the cleanup of what was the Hutchinson Co-op Cenex fertilizer plant that was on 3rd Avenue Northwest, just to the east of Stearnswood. So the EDA partnered with the city, and we bought this from Hutchinson Co-op, and then we partnered with Hutchinson Co-op to do the cleanup work. So we demolished all the buildings. Hutchinson Co-op got involved with a state program to help with the soil cleanup that had to happen. And then the EDA bought there was a couple of tiny little houses there as well that we had to acquire and get rid of. And now the site is all cleaned up. It's ready for redevelopment. This one's sort of been on the back burner for a while, but I think we're going to be talking about it in 2026. How do we redevelop this site? But the EDA was very instrumental in getting this all cleaned up and made ready for development. Another project that we worked on was the farmers market, the old depot block on the east end of downtown. Years ago that was looking very run down and very unpleasant. The depot building itself had been damaged by fire, and then that was kind of positioned in the middle of the block. So the EDA partnered with the city, and we partnered with McLeod County Rail Authority to physically pick up the old depot building. We relocated it to the edge of the block, McLeod County Rail Authority spent some dollars to renovate the building and get it back in good shape. The EDA spent money to buy the pavilion that's there today for the farmers market. And then the city invested to put in the parking lot and the rain garden. So between all those things, we have today, I would say, one of the nicest farmers markets outside of the Twin Cities. I've been to a lot of cities and I don't see anything anywhere near as nice as a farmers market as what we have here in Hutchinson. Another project we worked on, this was a little more recent in 2017. A developer came to town with an idea to build a cobblestone inn hotel. And at the time, he was looking at the edge of town, down by Menards, to do this. And so we talked with him and proposed the site on the intersection of Highway 7 and 15. And he liked it, and the rest is history, because now we have that new cobblestone inn hotel there. This was another project where the EDA partnered with the city. The city came in and built the frontage road to give access to the hotel. And then the EDA, we worked on, we had to provide some assistance to help with the cleanup of the site a little bit, because there used to be gas stations on this corner, and there was a little bit of leftover petroleum contamination that had to be dealt with. So that's partly where the EDA came in to help make this come together. So another big win for Hutchinson and a real asset to the downtown. Another project, and I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks. The landing was an EDA project, and we've been working on this one for, gosh, probably 9 years, I would say. So I'm not going to talk too much about this one. We might do a special episode in the future where we just do a project profile and look at this one in depth, because there was a million little steps that went into bringing this project to life. But a big win for downtown, and having 81 apartments in the downtown area, that's going to make a big difference on Main Street. Same thing for Jorgensen Hotel. This is one that would not be happening without the EDA. We had to be involved in this in multiple ways, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that one right now. It's just one of our projects, had a lot of steps to it, and we'll probably profile this one in the future too, because there's a lot of pieces to getting this project to happen. Several years ago, we did the Jumpstart Downtown business plan contest, and we've done this several times over the years, and we really just roll this out whenever there's vacancies in the downtown. If there's a lot of storefront vacancies, then we might pull out the Jumpstart Downtown business plan contest and see if we can get some new businesses started. So over the years, we've notched some good victories with this one. Probably the most notable was Elena's Bakery on Main Street. That was there for 5 years. And then 2 doors down from it was another business that came out of Jumpstart. That was Meshed Designs. And the one business that's out there now is the Flank Steakhouse. So that was on Main Street for a number of years. Now it's out on Highway 7 over at the Days Inn. But that was a Jumpstart Downtown winner. All 3 of them were. So big wins, I think, for Main Street and downtown Hutchinson. Kind of the transition out to the industrial park on some of the things that we've done out there. One of our more notable victories, I think, was Warrior Manufacturing. So this is a company, they manufacture bridges and trusses and catwalks and things like that. It's steel fabrication is what they do. But this was a company that was based in Redwood Falls, and they needed a second location in order to expand because they were landlocked in Redwood Falls. They could not expand over there. So we met with them and showed them a spot out in the industrial park, and they liked it. And then we were able to provide some financial assistance to help make the project work. And then they built a 92,000 square foot manufacturing facility. And at the beginning, the job creation goal was 15 jobs. And now today they're over 100 jobs, 100 really good paying jobs, and continuing to grow. In 2019, they did another project where they added 40,000 square feet as an expansion. And this company has a lot of upward potential yet. So this one was a big win for Hutchinson. Back at that same time, we were out of industrial park space, so we had to expand our industrial park. This was another partnership between the EDA and the city. And what happened was that the city bought the land, And then the EDA, we were able to go and get a federal grant, I think it was $950,000 to be able to put in the infrastructure. So we were able to pay for the roads and the sewer lines, the water lines, all that stuff. So now we have 68 acres available as industrial park space, and we can focus on getting these lots sold and populated by new manufacturing companies. So another win for Hutchinson, I think. More recently, we built the Hutchinson Enterprise Center as a small business incubator, and I talked about this at our last show. So this was a $2.4 million project, a 20,000 square foot building that we used to incubate companies. So mostly this was funded through grants. We got a grant from the state of Minnesota. I think it was $760,000. And then we had $1 million in other grant money that we could use. The city put in some money, and then we did some borrowing internally to get the thing built, because we built it all for cash. There's no debt against the building. And this one now is totally unique in Minnesota. No other city has anything like this. We've had a number of cities come to Hutchinson to tour the Enterprise Center and ask us how we did it and how they can do it. And so, you know, a lot of interest in other cities wanting to replicate what we've done here in town. And then, of course, the incubator companies themselves, we've had a number of companies go through the Enterprise Center. Innovative Foam has graduated, RD Machine graduated, Laser Dynamics, they're going to be graduating this year in 2026. And then currently we have Smoky Dukes and Demos Materials out there as well. So the incubator's 100% full as of today. So we're happy about that. Another project that the EDA was involved in was recruiting Uponor to Hutchinson. This was an Apple Valley company. They manufacture all the pipes in your house that used to be made of copper that are now made out of plastic. So that's what Uponor does. They've since been purchased by another company called GF. So now it's called GF. But the EDA, we met with company officials, and at the time they were really only interested in one question. What's the plan to provide our workforce? How are you guys going to do that? So we spent an hour meeting with company executives and talked all about Tiger Path. And they loved it, and next thing you know, they're expanding in Hutchinson. So currently about 100 employees out there, and again, a lot of upward potential. They've got a lot of room to expand. They've got plans to keep growing in Hutchinson, so we're super excited about that. Another company we recruited was Zephyr Wind Services. This is a company that refurbishes wind turbines on the wind towers that you see. And so they came to town in 2019. We helped them with the acquisition of a 51,000 square foot building on Highway 7. And ever since then, the company's been just growing and growing and growing. And now they have other facilities in Wisconsin, Iowa, Texas, and overall 100 employees. They've got 29 here in town. And they just recently purchased the entire Hutchinson manufacturing campus. So they've got plans to be expanding and doing more things in Hutchinson. So we're super excited about that. And then finally, RD Machine. That was one of our projects. They did a recent expansion. They had a 16,000 square foot building and needed to expand. So the EDA was able to help with some financial assistance. We leased them space in the Enterprise Center so that they could experiment with water jet cutting. And all of that was a big success, and that triggered a big expansion. So now RD Machine is 37,000 square feet. I believe it's about 35 employees or so, and they are positioned to grow a lot in the future. Very successful company with a lot of potential. So those are kind of just a snapshot of some of the projects that the EDA has worked on. There's others. I just don't have time to talk about all of them. But there's a lot of stuff that we have our fingerprints on. So I think people can be assured that they're getting their money's worth from the Hutchinson EDA. We're delivering good projects for the community, and we've got a lot more coming in the future. That's it for this week's edition of Hutchinson Economic Developments. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time.